And it's time to go to Mr. Chong for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The identification of 2 patents registered in China, was that the first red flag that went up about Dr. Chu?
That's correct.
And can you tell us why Dr. Matthew Gilmore suddenly resigned 8 weeks into a global pandemic in May of 2020, and why Tina Nemianovsky, the president of the Public Health Agency of Canada, suddenly resigned on a Friday afternoon of September 2020?
I don't know that I'm in a position to be able to comment on that, Madam Jeffries.
I would say that both of those, it's not really appropriate for us to comment, and I think they both reflected they resigned for personal reasons, not associated with this issue.
Not associated with this issue at all. Okay.
I'm not privy to their reasons, but that was what...
You know that they resigned for personal reasons? That's what you're...
Perhaps if I could respond. I mean, I think one of the challenges, and I got into it earlier, anytime we're talking about information with respect to
I know what you're
an
saying,
employee, we have to be very, very
With respect,
careful.
you are wrong in that. The Privacy Act exempts parliamentary committees and other judicial proceedings from the terms of the Privacy Act. That's stated in the opening clauses of that act, which is an act of Parliament. So we are exempt from the provisions of the Privacy Act when we're asking questions in respect of employees of the Government of Canada. We went through that in the previous Parliament on this very committee, actually, when we were asking for these documents. But if you don't know the reasons why they resigned, that's fine. I'm just asking the questions. So I take it that
Madam Jeffrey responded to the fullest extent that I can provide her an answer.
Thank you. The next question I have is there any collaboration between the National Microbiology Laboratory in Winnipeg and entities in the PRC presently?
No.
Okay. Are there any scientists working for the Government of Canada that are participating in the 1,000 Talents program?
I would refer to Madam Jeffrey to make sure that I'm not.
So in this case is the only one that I'm aware of where our scientists are participating in this program, and I'd refer you to our security services for information. This was an undeclared collaboration.
That's right, and as you're correct, the Government of Canada stumbled upon it. Has there been a review or a proactive request on part of the management within the Government of Canada to ensure that all government scientists are complying with the policies of the government and declaring their participation in the 1,000 Talents program?
Yeah, I mean, look, there had to be, and I think it's deeply unfortunate. You have, again, these are Canadian citizens, longtime employees, well-published, eminent scientists, known well throughout North America, lying to the Public Health Agency. That changed things materially. And so there was so at that point in time, you're now having to ask questions and dig into people's backgrounds in a way that would have been seen as invasive and inappropriate before.
Sure. So just to clarify, there is no collaboration presently going on between the National Microbiology Laboratory in Winnipeg and entities and individuals in the People's Republic of China. Is that?
That is correct. And I would say, yeah, and I would say just up further to the other point, there's a requirement, and there always has been a requirement to declare any affiliations or outside work.
Agreed.
And I mean, that's one of the reasons these people were fired. They lied about that.
Agreed. Thank you. A question about non-Canadian citizens. The documents that we received revealed that non-Canadian citizens, specifically PRC nationals, were given access to the lab. So my first question is, who in public health, the Department of Health Canada, or in the Public Health Agency of Canada, who is responsible for granting security clearances at the NML in Winnipeg?
I'll go to Madam Jeffrey.
So the security screening process begins with reliability status checks that are conducted by the security department of the agency, then referred to the RCMP and to the Security Intelligence Service for secret clearances.
But CSIS doesn't grant clearance. CSIS and the RCMP and others provide advice, but there is an individual within either Health Canada or PIAC that grants the clearance. Who is that individual?
It's granted by the security department of the Public Health Agency. So
departmental security officer or some similar titled person. So why did they grant access to PRC nationals for a level 4 lab? which is
Well-
contrary to government policy.
You know, I think that the engagement, and it could be correct, go ahead, Madam Chair. Yeah.
I can say that the access of those students was through a research affiliate program with the University of Manitoba, and that those students did not have clearances under the Human Pathogens and Toxin Act, and therefore were not involved in level 3 or level 4 lab work or any of the restricted
They required
pathogens and toxins.
top-level clearance to get into the lab.
Mr. Chong, I'm sorry, your
presumably-
time has
Yes, they
expired.
required a security
Yeah, and just one final quick point on this. It wasn't just students.
Very quickly.
A senior technician at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, a PRC national, was also granted access to that lab, the NML lab. That was also contained in the documents. Identified as individual number 2 in the documents. So again, somebody in the department, not the 2 scientists in question, because they're not granting security clearance for their own lab. Somebody else in the department granted them security clearance, and my question is, why are they not being held responsible for that gross negligence in protecting our security?
Perhaps I can answer at the back of the next question.
Subsequently, yes, I think maybe in subsequent answers you can cover that.